Ladies and gentlemen, it is happening. We now have two major world superpowers that economies are starting to fail. Inflation's getting worse, interest rates are going up, and it's finally starting to take a toll on these economies. And people, if these two major superpowers keep on going down, it's going to bring the whole world with it. So what are these two major superpowers that are experiencing huge economic contractions right now? Well, that's exactly what I'm going to cover in today's video. So let's not waste any time, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get straight into the news, the facts, and the data. Wow, look at this, everyone. Eurozone is now officially in a recession. So Eurozone saw winter recession and there's more challenging times ahead. So who could have predicted this? There was a huge energy crisis. Inflation went out of control. Eurozone inflation was much higher than the US, nearly 10%. And also food prices were going up 15 or 20%. And people in the Eurozone are starting to feel major pain. But again, the European Union makes up 20 countries and is a huge contributor to the global GDP. So if Eurozone continues to go down, it's going to drag on global growth. Now, just very quickly, if you're wanting to protect yourself from this downturn and learn how to build wealth, you can do so by clicking the link in the description on my brand new course. There's only 2 days left for the pre-launch sale where it's half price. So get in now before the prices go up. So listen to this, everyone. Eurozone economy fell into a technical recession in the first 3 months of 2023, as signs emerged that the central bank rate hikes will crimp the region's future growth prospects. So this is absolutely massive, everyone. They're having negative GDP even when their inflation rate is around 7%. So when you factor in inflation, really they're negative at least 5%. And like they warn here, the ECB, they're not done lifting interest rates. They're likely to do at least another 1 or 2 more, and they're going to face a very long period ahead of stagflation. So gross domestic product GDP for the 20-country Eurozone fell by 0.1% in the first quarter compared with the final quarter of 2022. When GDP also slipped by 0.1%, revised from the previous reading of 0, 2 consecutive quarters of contraction are commonly described as a technical recession. Again, now this is just a technical definition of recession, but when you go out there and look at the real world, people are really struggling. The cost of food is skyrocketing, the cost of rent is skyrocketing, the cost of energy is going up even more. So to many people, it does not feel like a recession and may feel like a depression. But the unemployment rate is the only thing that's holding the economy up. Once that goes, which I expect will start to happen in the second half of this year, all bets are off. Now keep watching, because in a moment I'm going to go over another superpower even bigger than the European Union, and their economy starting to fail as well. Domestic demand is not in a good place, Oxford economists said, adding the first quarter public spending saw the largest contraction on record except for the first wave of the coronavirus lockdown. People, just to reiterate, this was the largest contraction on record for spending. People have no money left, or people know that real bad times are going to come, and so they're stopping their spending. And again, this is the largest contraction on record besides a pandemic, when people had no choice. They couldn't spend even if they wanted to. And this is happening while the unemployment rate is at multi-decade lows. So what do you think is going to happen when that goes up? Going forward, gold will remain soft despite dropping wholesale energy prices, and monetary policy tightened dense investment, and still present inflationary pressures constraining the consumption. Separately, economists polled by Reuters expect quarterly growth to rebound by albeit modest 0.2% in each of the remaining 3 quarters of this year, and tipped the European Central Bank to hike by a further 25 basis points at both its June and July meetings in its efforts to counter stubborn inflation. Now again, people, even if they get 0.1% GDP growth, that's just technically meaning they're out of recession. But in real terms, they're having some of the slowest growth they've had in decades. And when you go and ask people on the street, to them, it's still going to feel the same thing as if they had negative 0.1% GDP. And we all know they try to cook the books a little bit and then just quietly revise them 6 months later. The revision was particularly due to a second estimate from Germany's statistics office showing that the Eurozone's largest economy was in recession in early 2023. So that's right, everyone. I did a video on this a couple of weeks ago on how Germany is officially in recession and how it will bring the whole European zone into recession. Some people called me crazy, but this was simply obvious to me. The contraction in Ireland's economy widened to 4.6% from a preliminary estimate of 2.7%, although this negative was due to the impact of large multinationals on growth there. A recession has been expected towards the end of last year as the Eurozone wrestled with high energy and food prices, and as post-pandemic spending boom faded. Initial estimates had suggested the region had avoided this. So again, the average consumer just does not have any discretionary spending left over. rents are killing them, groceries are killing them, and also energy prices are killing them. And some people don't even have enough money for those basic essentials. So unlike other recessions, as soon as we had that headline, central banks would have dropped interest rates, they would have started printing money and pumping money into the economy, but they cannot do that this time. And that's why I think we're going to have a multi-year recession. But okay, what's the second major superpower that's in trouble right now? Well, that's right, everybody, China. China exports plunged by 7.5% in May, far more than expected. Beijing China exports fell in May for the first time since February, adding to concerns that the growth in the world's second largest economy could be faltering. People, let me give you a heads up. This year, we're going to see every major economy fall into recession. The Eurozone is already in recession. China, you cannot trust the stats and statistics, but I think obviously when you look at the facts and the data, they're going to be facing big trouble ahead. I think the US will fall into recession later this year, and as well as Australia. So exports fell to 7.5% on a year-on-year to 283 billion. Customer data showed Wednesday far worse than a 0.4% decline predicted by Reuters poll. That is an absolute massive miss, everyone, and let's figure out why. The decline was so sharp that export volumes came in below their levels at the start of the year, after accounting for seasonally adjusted and changes in export prices. And this all points to subdued global demand for Chinese goods. This is what I've been trying to warn about all along, everyone. I've been saying these geopolitical risks between the US and China, and also Europe as well, that's going to lead to less firms investing in China, building companies in China, and also buying China goods. But that's big trouble for the rest of the world, because they are the second major economy in the world, and if they go down, we're all going to feel it. And look at this chart here, everybody. We can see China's total exports change year on year, and we can see here they are in the negative and they are absolutely collapsing. China won't be able to depend on trade to boost its economy for another 6 months for sure, he said, noting a drag from lackluster US demand where inflation and interest rates remain high. This is going to be an absolute massive blow for China because trade is their main business. Customs data released Wednesday showed that the dollar value of China exports to the US slumped 15.1% in May from a year earlier. That's a big drop, everyone. While exports to the European Union declined 4.9%. So you're noticing some trends here. The two biggest drops was between the US and Europe. So people, I hope you can see now that the facts are coming out that the global economy is rapidly deteriorating. These high interest rates are having a huge effect on demand when inflation is already at all-time highs. And if these two major superpowers go down, the US is going to go down with it, and Australia as well. And unlike 2008, when China's economy was booming and helped lift global growth, this time China's going to be going down as well, and there's going to be no major economy to pull us out of it. I know what you're thinking, everyone. Well, okay, how can you protect yourself? Well, it's not financial advice, but just what I'm doing in case we do enter a global recession, when there's high geopolitical risk, when there's high inflation. This is all very bullish for gold and silver. Yes, their price has been subdued right now because when interest rates go up, when the dollar goes up, that's quite bearish. But once the dollar starts to fall, if the Federal Reserve does pause lifting interest rates, even though I think they have to keep lifting them, but I'm afraid that they will pause them because they're worried about the banks collapsing, they're worried about the financial markets collapsing. If they do, there could be a market melt up, and gold and silver and Bitcoin as well will go up hugely. So that's what I'm doing, everyone. I'm diversifying gold, silver, and Bitcoin. Again, the reason why I have Bitcoin in my portfolio, it's a small part of my portfolio in case there is a market melt up, and normally Bitcoin does outperform the stock market when this happens. Not to mention we have big geopolitical risk right now, and if something bad happens in your country and you need to get out with large amounts of wealth, you can do that with Bitcoin. And if you're wanting to learn how to build wealth and master the gold, silver, and Bitcoin cycle, again, the last 2 days for my course, for the pre-sale, it's half price. Click the link in the description below. But everyone, what do you think about all of this? What do you think about Europeans' economy and China's economy going into recession? Let me know down below. Now, for my loyal viewers and subscribers still watching, you're awesome. Thanks for watching. I'll see you all in the next video.